It's great to see everybody again. Cup of water this morning. Let's just open with a word of prayer then. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this morning. We thank you that we've been able to remember Jesus. Lord, the only person who is able to give us salvation, the only person who rose from the dead, the only person who is able to see us through to an eternity. And so, Lord, as we open your word, we just ask that you may have something for each one of us. Amen. If you've been with us, we have been doing the book of Romans, and we are coming to a close of that book. So we are on the last 4 chapters. So I'm going to carry on in those chapters. But first of all, let me start off by asking you a question. As you do know, I like to ask questions. Which one is correct? Is the better life, does that make you into a Christian living a better life? Or does being a Christian change you into living a better life? So let me ask you the question again. Does living a better life make you a Christian? Or does being a Christian make you live a better life? I don't know about yourself, but life's difficult. Life's hard. It's no easy journey in life today. You might kid yourself and say, yeah, I'm okay. Me personally, it's not an easy journey. It's not easy to live your life. But yet, we have to ask ourselves, don't we? Have we made it hard to start with? Should we just go back to living off the fields and living in the countryside and just living on your own farm and providing yourself with your own food? But you know what would happen? Your spade would break. And you'd be back to digging with your hands. Whatever you've got, something's going to happen to make your life harder. But we live in the city, don't we? And that brings its own stresses and difficulties in life. The way that we gear our society up today, you have babies, and even before they're born, you play them music. And as soon as they're born, we swamp them with all these toys. Come and play with this, come and play with that. And even in the cot, there they are with things dangling over their head to try and teach them something. We send them to nursery to show them how to interact with other children in the way that we think that children and people should interact. And then when they've come to nursery, we send them to preschool, where they learn all the things that they should be able to do in life. And then we send them on to normal school and to university. And hopefully by the end of university, they are conformed to what the world would like a person to be. So you then become a person who goes to work, and you're supposed to gain a nice house and a nice car and a nice partner and have 2-point-something children, and then you croak it, and then you pass all those things down to your children, and they go and do the same, all in society. And that's how we live. We're moulded into that type of thing. And then we also have people on philosophy, and they say, well, this is how you should be building your children up now. And we see each generation goes by, that sort of changes until we have today. And so, what's normal? In all of that, what is normal? We hear people, don't we, the so-called psychiatrists, and saying, well, people should live like this, and if they're outside the goals or outside the goalposts, let's bring them in. Let's bring them into our society that we have. But what is normal? People in our lives, outside our lives, dictate that and tell us how we should live our life as what should be normal for us. But if we was to look at our society, if we was to really hold the mirror up to it, we would see that it's not really as good as what we think it is. We would see that in England, we're supposed to live or be quite good people. If you look at people from other countries, so many want to come to this country because they perceive that they're going to get a better life. But if you really to hold it up, you would see how corrupt it really was. You would really see the corruption that lies behind that. How people want to keep hold of their wealth. That if anybody comes and tries to take it away in any way, you can see what really people's motives of what they're really like. When the COVID came, you could see how people sort of forgot all that and went into helping people. And in my experience, you do find in poorer countries, especially when I've been to India, you find that people are more likely to help each other and to come together as a unit and be more, because they don't have those things that, oh, this is mine, this belongs to me, I'm not going to let it go. I've worked so hard for it, so you can't have any of it. When you don't have those things, you have nothing to lose. And so you find there's a greater community spirit when times are difficult. You would have seen that in the war years. And we've seen lately, haven't we, when COVID came. It says if we was to take a bit of a step back and to look at ourselves and to look at people, we would see that there's three things that define each person in the world. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. We look at things and we think, well, I wouldn't mind that. We look at circumstances and think, yes, I wouldn't mind that in my life. And then we look at the pride of life, thinking, well, you know what? Actually, I'm better than other people. You know, I think I'm not too bad a person. See, I used to be a big head, but now I'm perfect. So, you know, where can you go from that? There's only one way down. There's only one way there. Unfortunately, it's downwards. But these three things shape our lives, don't they? But we have to ask ourselves the question, are we those three things? Are those three things shaping our lives? So we've been looking at Romans. So let me ask Joel if he will put the thing on here. Here we go. This is the question that we've been asking ourselves. How should those who have been justified, or those who have, just as if have not sinned, because of the work that Jesus did, justified by grace, respond in your everyday life? Pretty much, how should you live a Christian life? So I just want to play a small video for you. This is taken from the Bible Project. So if you want to look at these things on the Bible Project, you'll find them on YouTube, and they are very good. But this is just a small clip about the book of Romans. Cheers.
The book, chapters 12 through 16. But remember the big picture. Because of their faith in Jesus, Jews and Gentiles are now together Abraham's family, that new humanity that's being transformed by God's Spirit. And so, this is how God's fulfilling his ancient promises. Therefore, the only reasonable response is for these Jews and non-Jewish Christians to be unified as the church. In chapters 12 to 13, he shows that this unity will come from a commitment to love and forgive each other. Love will look like everybody using their diverse gifts and talents to serve one another in the church. And it will also mean humility and forgiveness. When these different ethnic groups and cultures come together in Jesus, conflict is inevitable, and it can only be overcome through the hard work of forgiveness and reconciliation. This is how they will show the greatest of Christian virtues, love, which fulfills the Torah's greatest commands to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. In chapters 14 and 15, he focuses specifically on the issues that are creating ethnic divisions in the Roman church. These are disputes about the Jewish food laws and the Sabbath. And Paul says these practices don't define who's in or out of Jesus' family. And if people differ over these culturally important but non-essential issues, they need to learn how to respect each other's differences. And it's in this way that love will heal and unify Jesus' family. Paul closes the letter by first commending Phoebe, who's a key leader in the church of Cenchreae. She had the honor of carrying and perhaps even reading this letter aloud to the Roman churches for the first time. Paul then concludes by greeting all the people that he hasn't seen for a long time, and that's the end. Whoa. You can see better now how all the pieces of this letter fit together and show what a profound masterpiece it truly is. That's what the letter to the Romans is all about.
So if you want to go back to the previous 11 chapters, you can do. YouTube, and go and find it on there. Or Facebook, I think. All right. If you was to go to the book of Romans or the church in Rome, you would see that it was made up of normal people, Gentile people, and also you would see that it's made up of Jewish people. Loads of different people with loads of different backgrounds, loads of different ideas, loads of different cultures, loads of different ways of life, all coming together to be a church. How are those people supposed to get on together? If I was to look around today in the church here, I would see different people with different backgrounds, brought up in different circumstances, different views, different cultures, all different variations of people. How are we supposed to get on together? If we've looked at the fact of how normal people in the world would behave. We've looked at that when we first started. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. That is how normal people live. But as a believer, we're supposed to be the church. We're supposed to be changed. We're supposed to have a new spirit given to us, the Spirit of God. So how are we to get on together, unified and as a unit? Well, the rest of Romans tells us. The bigger picture is that God has provided a way through Jesus of us having our faith in him. The Jews and the Gentiles are together in Abraham's family, and a new humanity is being transformed by God's Spirit. And you would think the church would be full of perfect people. You would think that, but it isn't, is it? No, it's not. We all have our problems. We all have our old life. We're all struggling. We're all still from different cultures when we walk through the door, or whether we come into the... We're not suddenly changed. It tells us our reasonable service to the church. It will come from a commitment of loving each other. Okay? But what does that look like? It's all right saying, yeah, let's love each other. What does it look like in reality? Chapters 12 to 13, which we're going to be looking at, is the teaching on general issues for everyday life. And then in chapter 14 and 15, it goes on to teaching on cultural and ethnic divisions in life itself, and how to show grace to other people over like non-essential things. Well, we won't be looking at that today. Chapter 16 gives you a list of all people that Paul sort of uses as examples of how that Christian life has been worked out, and he gives thanks for them. But here's another question for you. Are we prepared to look in the mirror and to look at ourselves and to see what's wrong with us as an individual? Not the person sitting next to you or the person behind you or in front of you, where you're going, well, they're not like me, I'm all right. but are we prepared to hold that mirror up to ourselves? The evidence of a person's life will show in a few ways. You'll see the fruit of that comes out of that person. It says in the scriptures, doesn't it? Those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart. What is in your heart will come out of your mouth. It tells us that in Matthew's Gospel when Jesus was teaching. Your desires of your heart will be your life's choices. What you find priority in your life, that will be your choice in life. Those are the decisions and the choices that you will make on what you deem as your desire in life and what you put as priority in your life. It says you'll know them by the fruits. An apple tree produces apples, and a pear tree produces pears. If you're a good person, you should be producing a good life. You should be producing the characteristics of a good person. If you're not a good person, you'll be producing the fruit of a bad person. Let's read our scripture that we have. Chapter 12, verse 9 to 21. I've been kind to you. I'll give you two. There you go. King James Version, New Living Translation. So I'm not going to read in the New Translation, I'll read in the King James, and you can follow it in the New Living Translation. There you go. And then I've done you a good favour there, haven't I? Verse 9. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, in honour preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one towards another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to man, no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peacefully with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink, for in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. So I just want to have a look at some of these things that we're supposed to do. Let love be without dissimulation. You see, sometimes the King James Version gives you a bit of a deeper understanding of that word. If you was to look at the New Living Translation, what does it say? Just nip back one first, please. Don't just pretend to love others. It's a bit general terms. If you was to look at the word dissimulation, it means hypocrisy. So we pretty much know when we talk about something being hypocritical or hypocrisy, we're talking about something, if don't do what I say. if I say I'm doing this and I do something, I'm going to be a hypocrite. We know what a hypocrite means, and it's a strong word. It tells us exactly what we are. Do not be a hypocrite when you come to love other people. Abhor that which is evil. It's pretty strong. It tells us exactly what we should be doing. Shun it. Put it away. Hate it. Don't just really love them. Hate what is wrong. It says hate them. Abhor what is evil. It talks about evil here, not in a general term, but in a malicious way. Not just hate evil as in generalise not liking those things, but it's about being malicious. Don't be malicious in your actions. Cleave to what is good. Cleave means to glue yourself to something. Okay, it's like gluing yourself to a door. You're not going to move. We saw those people, didn't we, gluing themselves to the road, okay, because they wanted to make a statement. And it took the police a long time to get them up. That's what it means. Glue yourself to something. Glue yourself to what's good. So it sticks to you. So you're together with it. That's what it's getting at. See, God's character is to show goodness to all, whether they're good or bad. It doesn't matter. It says the sun shines on the righteous and the unrighteous. That's God's character. Yes, the consequences to how a person lives their life. And every person will come and give an account of themselves to God for what they've done. Whether you're a believer, you will give yourself an accountable as to what you've done with the gospel and how you've lived your Christian life. And Jesus will judge you for that. If you're a non-believer, you'll stand before God at the great white throne for the sins that you've committed. So whichever way you like it, you're going to have to give an account of your life as to what you've done. But our character as believers, as Christians, should be the same as God's character. Why? Because God has put his spirit and his character within us. He's made us anew. He's made us different people. He's made us born again. He's created in us a new heart. We've been made a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come. That's what we're supposed to be. So we're supposed to show the character of God in our lives. That's the fruit that we're supposed to bear. Do good to all. Galatians 6, it says, if you have opportunity, do good to all men, especially those of the household of faith, especially to other people, to believers. Do not be slothful in business. Don't be lazy in business. It doesn't mean that you should go out and open a shop or you should get a business and start a business of your own. It means in business, in what you do, in your life, in how you conduct yourself. Fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Go about it in the right way. Fervent means you set your heart and your desires on it and you go for it. Nothing's going to put you out of it nothing's going to take you off those. If you look at people who do the marathon, 26 and something miles, it's difficult. You get to a certain point, so I'm told. I have actually run a marathon years and years ago when I was young, but I'm not exactly built for it now. Okay, I'm more built for being the foundation, okay, on the circus thing where people are stood on the top of me, not for running the marathon. Okay, but you get to a certain point and your body wants to give up. It's physically knackered. It doesn't want to go any further. And your will has to take it further to the finishing post. Fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Put yourselves and keep going through the thick and the thin. Patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Keep praying. Keep going through tribulations and trials. Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Be of the same mind one towards another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. People who think they're high above each other people, you seem to find, to be honest, that they're not real people, are they? You tend to find that me personally, I tend to find that I like to be with people who are just genuine people, who are just real, that aren't trying to be something that they're not. They're not trying to be above somebody else and better than someone else. What do you find when people have money? Well, they put all these gates up in front of the house and fences because you're not going to come into my life. I've got all this, but I'm going to block you out of it. People who have nothing, as we said before, they live together as a community and help each other. The real people. Me personally, I prefer to spend my time with people like that. Recompense no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. And this really, the next verse, verse 18, is the crux really of this teaching in chapter 12 and 13. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men. Never take revenge, leave that to God, because God says vengeance is mine. Well, then it comes to this phrase here. If your enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. For you shall heap coals of fire on his head, and the Lord shall reward you. What does that mean? Are you supposed to go out and go to the fire with a log burner and pick up some coals and put it on somebody's head? Not really. What does it mean then? I've heard loads of different things for this. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to have a look and see what it says. If you was to look at the New Living Translation, you would see that it says, be good to them so it brings shame on somebody else. So your good works, what you do to them if they're your enemy, by feeding them and drinking on them, it will put them to shame for how they are. But is that what it really means? Let me take you to Leviticus chapter 16 and verse 11 and 12. It says, Aaron will present his own bull as a sin offering to purify himself and his family, making them right with the Lord. After he has slaughtered the bull as a sin offering, he will fill an incense burner with burning coals from the altar that stands before the Lord. Then he will take 2 handfuls of fragrant powdered incense and will carry the burner and the incense behind the inner curtain. There in the Lord's presence he will put the incense on the burning coals, so that a cloud of incense will rise over the ark's cover, the place of atonement that rests on the ark of the covenant. If he follows these instructions, he will not die. Burning coals, they took the coals from the altar and they put the incense on them and took them into the Holy of Holies. That was to cleanse themselves. Aaron had to do that to sort out his own sins. Then he could go and deal with the sins of the people. It was what he had to do to be able to make atonement, or at one meant so that all people could be one with God to deal with people's sins. The coals of fire are from God's altar. They're part of his character. They're what God set forward. If we was to look in the Old Testament, we will see two people who disobeyed, Nabal and Abihu, who took coals of fire and brought their own in. Decided, well, I'm not going to use God's coals of fire, I'm going to bring my own in. And what did God do? He struck them down dead. It's only God's character that we can emulate and we can show towards other people. And just as Aaron had to be made right before he went and sorted other people out, so we too have to be right before we can deal with other people. If you look in the context of it, it comes straight after these words of not taking revengeance on somebody else. Let God deal with that situation. Putting coals on somebody's head is taking the character of God and showing people mercy. Showing that it's God who's going to deal with you, not me. I'm not going to deal with the fact that you've done something wrong, but instead, I'm going to show you the character of God, because God has a good character. The sun shines on the righteous and the unrighteous. It shines on the good and on the bad. It doesn't matter what character you have. I'm going to show God's character to you. And that's what God wants me to do. And God will deal how you've dealt with me. Because vengeance belongs to God. He will deal with that. Because as we've said before, one day we will all give an account to God for the way which we've lived our lives. And at that point, that person will then have to give an account for how they've dealt with yourself. But our way of living as a believer is as it says in verse 18, if at all possible for all men, let us live peacefully. And then we can ask or answer the question that we started off, what is it that makes us a Christian? Is it living a good life and being nice to people that makes us a Christian? Or is it the fact that we're a Christian and we want to do the character of God, and that makes us live a good life? So I hope that answers some questions for you.